So, warm welcome for Dave. Dave?
Thank you, John. Yeah, it's okay. I'm old. I did actually get into this industry literally 30 years ago. That's when my card said new media, and it was on the belief that someday you would sit on your couch and order a pizza from your television. And then I saw a demonstration of one in 1994 at the Bell Atlantic Home of the Future, and I thought, well, this is it. It's going to happen. And, finally it happened. What I'm going to talk about today, much less about Simulmedia. I really want to tell you how we see what's happening in the market, what kinds of opportunities and challenges I think people are going to be facing, and where some of the solutions are probably going to have to come from. So I think there's three challenges that we see today with the growth of premium video, and particularly with the convergence of linear television and streaming. Fragmentation, fit, and fluency. So for fragmentation, if you go back to, and 70 years ago I wasn't alive, so, but if you go back to the beginning of television, you had just a few broadcast channels, networks. And as you looked at, as cable television came around, and then the long tail of cable grew, and we went from getting 13 channels of cable to 30 channels to 100 channel, to hundreds of channels, to more than 120 million households getting television. The one thing that happened is that broadcast didn't go away, and cable didn't go away, and satellite didn't go away, but the number of channels where you could receive programming increased dramatically. And that was a really good thing, because it happened because technology permitted more channels to be able to go out there, and you could serve more consumers and more viewers with more content that they were interested in. If you went back 20 years or 30 years and tried to watch soccer during the day on television, at best, you might find a couple games on the weekend that you could get in cable. And today, in virtually any market in the United States, you can watch hundreds of games every single day before you even get to streaming services. But this fragmentation has a challenge, because as marketers, you want to find scale, you want to find reach against specific audiences, you want to find people, but finding them across thousands of different areas of programming in ways that are also efficient and certain to get those people without lots of deduplication becomes problematic. And there's more complexity, so it's not just that the programming choices have been exploding and growing and diversifying, but the complexity of TV, right now, you can imagine it, at least there's two big buckets of linear and streaming, and linear being not just linear and delivered in serial, but really coming in more legacy environments. Cable, satellite, telco, OTA, that's over the air, which is both classic broadcast, but what a lot of people aren't aware of are the diginets. How many people are aware of diginets? Ad inventory on Diginet Inventory, which is a digital channel that is owned by the local broadcast stations. They've sold a number of them, but they get 6 for every channel, and they program them everything from a lot of non-English language programming, local weather, and things like this. It is growing faster than connected TV, total inventory growth. It's going up 20% per year. And people will either have an antenna in their smart TVs, or you'll get one, and you can get one. Well, you used to get it at Radio Shack, but I don't think there's only one Radio Shack store left in America now today. But you can order them on Amazon for about $30, and you can get these little antennas. But between that and then all the different kinds of streaming, the amount of choices and the complexity continues to grow. This fragmentation is extraordinary, and it is bringing more programming to more people. But for people that are trying to find audiences and do it efficiently and find them in the best choice, this is getting harder and harder. And the notion of long-form, 30-minute defined inventory is changing dramatically. And up in the top right are the kinds of programming that we see that looks more consistent, which is both professionally scripted and long-form. But video programming today can be short-form, it can be user-generated, and it would be, the hubris of a lot of people and I think in the television world to think that if they haven't made it, that actually the viewers don't care about it and the users don't care about it is absolutely ridiculous. If you look at what's happening in TikTok, for example, where you can have unbelievable programming that's 20 or 30 seconds long and can be very impactful and very supportive of brands. And you can have 10-minute programming on TikTok as well. But all of this is now becoming part of the ecosystem. Massive fragmentation, massive opportunity, but a lot of complexity, and it comes in a lot of places. There's a fit problem if we look at what's happening in connected TV and converging of linear. The world of most of the technology that is being deployed against connected TV today was originally built for the banner business. Programmatic, a lot of the real-time bidded auction systems, they were built for a world where supply exceeded demand. And that you could have lots of ads on a page. If you could sell more, you just put more on the page. It could be below the fold. It can be on multiple tabs. And this is why we have the whole real-time bidded programmatic auction world, where you can pick up spots on, in most cases, a performance basis at the last possible second. Because it's like, imagine the airline industry, if there were 1,000 more seats than there were people to buy them, which means at any point you wanted to fly anywhere, you could buy a seat for next to nothing. And that's the banner world. Most of the technology was built for that. It was mostly anchored on cookies. And it has built a lot of expectations in a lot of the people who grew up that way. But that's not the world of connected TV, which in many ways is going to look a lot like the linear world, in that it is a person's time and attention against a primary high engagement screen. And that's finite, and that's scarce. Yes, people are watching more video programming today than they have before, and as we see them in autonomous cars, we'll even see them watching even more of it. But in the end, there's only so much people's time and attention. And so it's going to be a market that looks more like TV, where demand exceeds supply. And so it's going to be a reserve business. I mean, you even see this in the trade desk, for example, you know, the largest or the second largest exchange platform, where you have a bidded business, which is largely the banner and the digital video, and then you have a CTV business, which is reserve and CPM. And so the best part is the converged world will bring the best of both of them together. We'll see a lot of business deals and things that look more like television with certainty, but we're going to have precision in targeting, precision in measurement, dynamic creative, the ability to do all of the kinds of things we see in digital in the television world with its, you know, high impact sight, sound, and motion. And what we're going to have to do, all of us, is bring all of that complexity in a way that brings simplicity to the viewer and the user, because they're not differentiating in its TV when they're watching it on a tablet, if they're watching it on mobile, or watching it on their television. And when we're using different technologies and different approaches in each of those channels, we're almost certain to create some dissatisfied viewers along the way, particularly if we continue to give the same kind of blinky, flashy toe fungus ads that I see way too often on my mobile and my PC, and we start putting those in people's living rooms with that full screen TV, and you're going to get some unhappy viewers. Fluency. So after the fragmentation and the fit problem, we have a fluency problem. And one of the reasons we have a fluency problem is that the world of television and linear television advertising has largely existed separate and apart from the digital world. And it did this because you had a limited number of distributors that could sell access to those audiences. And they didn't have to spend time with the digital people. They didn't like the digital people. And the digital people, and I was one of them, because that's when I got into this business in working in digital media in the early 90s. And we didn't want to talk to the television people because they were pretty arrogant, and they didn't want to talk to us, and they weren't going to share budgets with us either. And so I put this up here with all of the acronyms. In Simulmedia, we have a rule. We have a no acronym rule. You can't use an acronym without describing what the acronym is within the next sentence or two, or you owe $1 to everybody in the room, because I think acronyms are a way of separating people away and trying to, you know, take a shorthand, but you're basically saying you don't know what's going on here. But if you look at everything from OTT over the top and connected TV and fast, you know, free ad-supported streaming channel, video on demand, to I'm not even going to go into some of those in case I'll owe a lot of dollars here right now. MVPDs, multi-channel video programming distributor. But these acronyms are separating two worlds. And one of the things, and it is a bit of a holy grail, and we all know there really aren't omni-holistic video budgets. I mean, that probably connects together at the chairman of the board level someplace. because they're typically managed in different silos and different places. But this is going to be really important to solve, which is the fluency issue, because for us to actually be able to bring the best of linear and the best of streaming together, we're going to have to understand each other's languages. And this is an area I think it's going to be really important training at the buy side, at the sell side, at the technology side, at the brand side, at the corporate side, to really understand, because the gross rating point still does matter and the day part still does matter, even if you're doing audience-based buying, and impressions and understanding different kinds of attribution will really matter in TV. And so, you know, how are we thinking about these things? How should you be thinking about them? I think the first thing is, when we think of fragmentation, it's going to be both how do we re-aggregate audiences across these platforms and continue to look at the next emerging markets. I mean, in Simulmedia, we're not only bringing together all of the major and important television companies and programmers, but we're adding in all of the major connected TV streaming programmers and the key original OEMs, original equipment manufacturer, the TV devices and the set-top boxes themselves that can distribute them. And we're even adding, for example, video gaming. We think that's one of the most important areas of growth in the future is console and PC video gaming, where you can introduce permission full-screen TV ads into it. We're also looking at cars. I mentioned autonomous cars and rideshare cars. This is going to be a significant growth in high-impact primary engagement video screens. That's very much on the R&D front for us. But I think fragmentation is not only how do we re-aggregate, but how do we continue to develop and look for where users are finding screens. When it comes to fit, it's building purpose-built technology. It's recognizing that in a cookie-driven world, you don't really need that much transparency into where the banner actually hit and what was the website that it was on and what was the content. But when you're buying connected TV, you do. And so things like transparency in streaming campaigns is critical, and a lot of places won't give it to you. Being able to have the same kinds of flexibility, the kind of reserve buying, actually being able to deduplicate audiences between television and channels and streaming, and so that you're not wasting frequency on these people as two different buckets, and the same thing extended into gaming. I think that's important. We also think the identity schemes that are used, the identity graphs, need to be purpose-built for video viewing and large screens, because co-viewing and understanding the path that someone got there and how they're watching it is very important when it's not just about the device. And then when it comes to fluency, it's for us really working together to be bringing in people that really know TV and that know CTV, and working with our clients and agency partners and suppliers to try to move the industry forward and make sure that we can help bridge some of the divides that have existed in these areas. And we're excited to do that. We're really excited to be here. Right before I step down, I just want to have my colleagues put their hands up so you can, or stand up please quickly so you'll know where they are during the time here. And we're really excited to be at Media Post. And I think one reason he called me a legend and old was that I've been writing for Media Post for now, I think 21 or 22 years, very proudly. I thank you, Ken, for that chance many years ago to be able to write. And if you don't subscribe to the, it's free subscription to the Media Insider on a daily basis, please do. Thank you.